And welcome to the June 12th council meeting of the City of Grande Prairie. We have Mayor Clayton online today, and we're going to start by standing and singing O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
And we will thank our own Tennille Towns for singing the national anthem and for the National Film Board of Canada for those images. Next on the agenda, we will read our land acknowledgement. So the city respectfully acknowledges the Beaver, Cree, Dene, and Métis people as the original caretakers of these lands and surrounding areas. We are grateful to live, learn, work, and play on Treaty 8 territory within Turtle Island and acknowledge these lands have been home to diverse and sovereign First Nations and Inuit nations since time immemorial. And that takes us to proclamations. And I'm going to ask Mayor if she wants to read them or if she wants me to.
Please go ahead.
That means I need glasses, so. This first proclamation is in recognition of International Pollinator Week and Bee City. So whereas International Pollinator Week was initiated and is managed by Pollinator Partnership, National Pollinator Week is marked as a necessary step toward addressing the urgent issue of declining pollinator populations. And whereas Pollinator Week has now grown into an international celebration, promoting the valuable ecosystem services provided by pollinators such as bees, birds, butterflies, bats, and beetles. And whereas Pollinator Week is celebrated internationally in support of the protection and promotion of pollinators and their ecosystems, and whereas the City of Grande Prairie is designated Bee City, and Bee City communities support collaboration and establish and maintain healthy pollinator habitat within the municipality. And whereas a Bee City raises awareness of pollinator diversity and the benefits of using native plants in habitat restoration, and whereas selecting pollinator-friendly plants, including native trees, shrubs, vines, grasses, along with herbs and vegetables, provides food for wildlife and humans too. And whereas a Bee City improves its municipal environment and the physical and mental health of the residents by connecting people with nature and encouraging healthy, clean food consumption, healthy citizens equal healthy, productive cities. Now, therefore, I, Deputy Mayor Gladys Blackmore, on behalf of Jackie Clayton, Mayor of the City of Grande Prairie, Alberta, Canada, do hereby proclaim June 19th to the 25th, 2023, to be International Pollinators Week in the City of Grande Prairie. And you try saying pollinator that many times in a row.
But you're good at it now, eh?
I am. The second proclamation for today is in recognition of Lemonade Day. So Lemonade Day, June 17th, 2023. Whereas Lemonade Day is a free, community-wide educational event providing children with the opportunity to learn and apply entrepreneurial thinking and create a foundation for success in the global economy. And whereas Lemonade Day exists to infuse today's youth with the spirit of enterprise, teaching the basic business and entrepreneurial skills necessary to become successful, contributing members of the community. And whereas Lemonade Day has a core philosophy of spend, save, and share that is implemented by teaching children how to start, own, and operate a business, learn goal setting, develop a business plan, establish a budget, seek investors, provide customer service, and give back to the community. And whereas Lemonade Day offers opportunities for families, businesses, schools, youth organizations, neighborhoods, institutions of higher learning, and government agencies to unite for a common purpose to train the next generation of entrepreneurs. And whereas Lemonade Day is a day of learning and celebrating Northern Alberta's future. On June 17th, every citizen in the city of Grande Prairie has a job, either buying or helping children sell lemonade. Now, therefore, I, Gladys Blackmore, Deputy Mayor, on behalf of Jackie Clayton, Mayor of the City of Grande Prairie, do hereby proclaim June 17th, 2023 to be Lemonade Day in the City of Grande Prairie and encourage every citizen to purchase a cup of lemonade from one of the youths participating in the program to demonstrate how our community cares for the future of our youth. Lemonade Day is also pretty exciting to say over and over. And we will move on to item 5.1, adoption of the previous council minutes, and I would go to Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Acting Deputy Mayor. I'd like to move council adopt the minutes of the City Council meeting held May 29, 2023 as presented.
And is there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I see that as an order and we'll call a motion.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that carries. Item 6 is the adoption of the agenda. I would go to Councillor Thiessen to lead us there.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I would move that council adopt the agenda with the addition of item 8.1, CAO appointment.
And that motion is in order. I'd call a question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that carries. Moving on to item 8.1, which is CAO appointment, I would ask Mayor Clayton to lead us in that.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. In front of the council today is an item that's been added to our agenda. It gives me great pleasure to make a motion that council appoint Shane Burke as the CAO for the City of Grande Prairie, effective September 18th, 2023. As council has been part of this ongoing process, we were very fortunate to have exceptional applicants apply to the City of Grande Prairie from across the country. Really a thorough process was done, and I wanted to thank my colleagues that were able to serve on the panel to interview all the candidates. Mr. Burke was the successful candidate and has accepted this position. He will, as the motion indicates, start September 18th. For those of you who may be watching online, a media release will go out following council's meeting today. Mr. Burke has worked previously, has an exceptional knowledge of the city and worked previously in the city. Currently works as a CAO in the resort community of Sun Peaks. And council looks forward to working with him. I know many people in the organization know Mr. Burke, and there are also many new ones that I'm sure once you get to meet him, you'll appreciate why council has chosen an individual to be going forward as our CAO. And with that, there is a subsequent motion, but I just wanted to be the first I'm sure there will be many accolades given following this, but I wanted to, those who may be watching, remind those watching that Mr. Nicolay was originally on contract with us for 6 months. Council extended his contract during that time. He has truly been a driving force behind the success of council and the work that this organization is doing. We are very thankful for the extended time that Mr. Nicolay has given us. And really just, it'll be the first of many thanks to come, but I just remind those in the organization, Mr. Nicolay is with us till the end of June, and the following motion will be in regards to that interim period of time between Mr. Nicolay's contract end date and Mr. Burke's contract begin date. So for now, happy to take questions, but the motion is in front of council to appoint Mr. Shane Burke as a CAO for the City of Grande Prairie effective September 18th, 2023. Thank you.
I'll open the floor for questions. Well, Mayor Clayton, you got off easy. There are no questions. So the motion is in order. I will call a question. And that carries unanimously. Did you want to do the second motion as well, Mayor Clayton?
Sure, excellent. Yeah, I appreciate that. Most of you watching may be aware, currently Mr. Arlen Miller is our Deputy CAO. Mr. Miller has served with our organization for a number of years, as you're aware, has an extensive background in many things municipal, in particular in policing. Mr. Miller has been a great wingman, let's call it, for Mr. Nicolay, and it gives me great pleasure to announce that council, the motion today would be for council to appoint Arlen Miller as the interim CAO for the City of Grande Prairie from July 1st, 2023 to September 17th, 2023. That gives us a perfect, covers the time period between when Mr. Nicolay's contract ends and to when Mr. Burke starts. Mr. Miller has been with the organization multiple years and as you are probably aware, has indicated that plans to serve for the organization till the end of 2023. But at this point, this motion is just to appoint Mr. Miller as the interim CAO in that period between Mr. Nicolay and Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I still see no hands up in the queue, so I will call a question on your motion. And that too carries. Moving on.
If I could just add one thing,
Sure.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Miller as well. Mr. Miller has truly been an individual who has worn many hats. He really he moves between roles as required because his skill set is that deep. So for him to be able to be our interim CAO puts the organization in a great position, and as well supporting Mr. Nicolay over the past period of time really continues to be a leader in our organization. So I want to thank him for agreeing to be this interim CAO, and thank you for his dedication to our organization. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. We'll move on to committee business, starting with operational services, and we'll hand that over to Councillor Bosch to look after the business there.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. Well, Bob's off the hook, but we still have our hooks into Ireland just a little bit longer. I move that Council adopt the minutes of the Operational Services Committee meeting held June 6th, 2023 as presented.
I'll call a question. And that carries. Do you want to continue with your business, Councillor Bosch?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we're going to go into the stormwater utility billing. So moving ahead with that, through committee, we had presentations in choices of how to handle this, basically through the city ourselves or with a third party who has the ability to handle that billing process easier. There is initial startup costs, of course. So this is a motion to move that forward. So I move that Council direct administration to enter into negotiations with Aquaterra Utilities Incorporated to provide a billing service for the City of Grande Prairie stormwater utility and approve stormwater utility implementation costs of up to $544,000 to be funded from the Financial Stabilization Reserve.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will call that motion to question. How do you vote, Mayor Clayton?
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that carries. Councillor Bosch, were there highlights from your meeting?
A few, yeah. Chief Glavin is always busy, so him and his team. Some highlights were essentially what summertime is about right now. Construction of the sound barrier at Eastlink continues and is on schedule to be completed by the end of this month. Tenders are all out right now for things such as drainage improvements, asphalt crack sealing, bridge repair maintenance program, design and construction supervision, an RFP out for road rehabilitation program design and construction supervision has now closed. I'm not sure why it says supervision, but okay. An open house is scheduled for June 15th at the Ernie Radbourne Pavilion from 5 to 7 to get your input on the transportation study being conducted jointly by the city and county for the land located south of the airport and west of 124th Street. So hopefully people can attend and put their opinions in for that. Flooring replacements are underway at the Creative Center of Arts. And truss repairs will occur at the Bonnets Energy Center, July 3rd through 6th. And then finally, I'll just add in the tree replacement capital program will commence this month with 120 new trees set for installation at various locations. So, of course, there's more going on at this time of year, particularly in this service area, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bosch. We'll move on to 9.2, Financial and Administrative Services Committee, and I'm going to ask Councillor Bressie if he'll do the business for that.
Sure, I'm happy to. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I move the Council adopt the minutes of the Financial and Administrative Services Committee meeting held June 6, 2023, as presented.
I'll call a question. And that carries.
Thank you. I would move the Council approve the deferral of payment for the RCMP retroactive salary obligation until March 2025. Just to speak to this, the RCMP members undertook negotiation with the federal government that made the federal government owe them some retroactive pay. And as a municipality that contracts the RCMP, we're on the hook for some of it. We have diligently over the last couple of years set aside money for it. But since there's an option to extend payment, we may as well, because there's a return on investment for what's in our accounts. And I think that it's good that we can take that, since this was something we had no say in. We may as well hold on to it for as long as we can. So I hope that Council will accept this motion.
I see no one in the queue with questions, so I will call a motion. And that carries. And moving on to the next item.
Thank you. I move the Council receive the unaudited financial statements and supporting information for the period ending March 31st, 2023 for information. Just to speak to it, 4 times a year, staff do a very good job of presenting to Council and the public what's going on with our city finances. And I think so I'd encourage members of the public who are curious about how their tax dollars are getting spent to check this report out for themselves.
The one comment I would make about that is, of course, the quarterly financial reports are available online. So if anyone has a curiosity about what's happening with city finances, that information is publicly available. And on that note, I will call a question. That carries. Councillor Bressie, did you want to do meeting highlights?
Sure. I'll highlight from the Director Service area just a reminder to residents that property taxes are due June 30th, so if you haven't paid those, please do so. I think the most interesting conversation that came up that doesn't appear in the business of today is we discussed social procurement and the idea of, is there more that we could do with the significant purchasing power of the city to get more community benefit beyond just getting shovels in the ground for the projects we need to do? So we have directed administration to do further work and have further work with council so that we can develop some social procurement policies that work for our organization and benefit our community.
Great, thank you, Councillor Bressie. We'll move on to Public and Protective Services. And the chair of that committee is
Let's keep on ringing my bell. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I would move that council receive the minutes for Public Protective Services meeting held June 6, 2023 as presented.
And I'll call that motion to question. And that carries. And you have no business coming out of that meeting, but you do have some meeting highlights, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you. It was a very efficiently run meeting, so there's little to report, but the big thing I will report from the Director Service Area update is that the Aquaterra Outdoor Pool and the Reverend Forbes Homestead are now open for the summer. So yeehaw for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Bressie. And we'll move on to item 9.4, Invest GP Committee, which is Councillor Palat.
Thank you, Deputy Chair Blackmore.
Yes, that is my name.
I just would make a motion that we accept the minutes of the June 6, 2023 meeting for Invest GP, please.
I'll call that motion to question. And that carries. You do have some business for Rising?
We did have a good conversation about a healthcare attraction strategy. So in our we've got a motion to receive this information. So I'll start that first because I'm not sure how the second one's going to go with amendments. We'll just leave or I'll ask Deputy Mayor. I'm just confused about the second one. If there's questions on that or amendments, and we're just taking amendments on the fly, or should I make those both at the same time?
Sorry. I'm going to ask Chief Investment Officer Jeff, who's on his phone. Sorry, Jeff, to respond. Do you think that you want to see the motions lumped together or split, or do you mind?
We are going to split them out in the next committee meeting.
Okay, so I'm just curious for this. Are we just receiving for information for today?
Correct,
Yes,
yeah.
please do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a very good question, and it is a little perplexing the way that it's written. I think if Council adopts both motions separately or together, the undertaking by Council would be to provide feedback to Invest GP on the healthcare attraction strategy. As Chief Harrop points out, that will be most easily facilitated at the committee meetings coming up. But it'll just ascertain that Council does want to have that opportunity to provide more input and feedback.
Gotcha, great. So with that, I will be happy to move what's in our package that Council, 1, receive this for information, and 2, provide feedback to administration on potential options outlined in the healthcare attraction and retention strategy matrix prior to the strategy being finalized.
And do we have any questions or concerns coming from Council at this time? I don't see any, so I will call a question. And And that does carry. So, Councillor Plott, you have some meeting highlights?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Blackmore. Just as mentioned, every 2 weeks, it feels like we get another update from our Chief Investment Manager, Mr. Harp, about how many businesses are opening up. So this last 2 weeks, we had 11 more new businesses have opened. We had 2 local marketing applications and 1 training grant to happen. On those, we had an Economic Advisory Committee meeting that myself and Councillor O'Connor attended with some folks, and really good conversation about some of the potential options that we're going to have some of our funding streams. For events and entertainment, the Vampire Circus, a circus-style production, is coming to Bonnet Centre in October. And just this weekend, we had our Pride Society's annual party in White, which I heard went over very, very well. So congratulations to them. And the Rural Alberta Advantage will be playing the Bose Centre on June 13th. And that is apparently a band. When I heard that, I thought it was a political thing, but it's actually a music group. So for those of you, just to clarify. And for planning and development, the city and the county have continued to meet and will continue to meet on our IDP, the intermunicipal development plan, to make sure that we continue to work on that jointly. And that's my highlights. Thank you.
And I'll just make a small correction, Councillor Palat. Rural Alberta Advantage has actually been moved to Better Than Fred's. So it'll be tomorrow night at Better Than Fred's. If you had tickets already at the Bose Centre, you just take your tickets to Better Than Fred's and you'll get in, and you'll have a great show because they're a wonderful musical group. That concludes our meeting highlights. We'll move on to correspondence. We did receive a letter from the City of Edmonton. The Mayor of Edmonton writes, this year our extended region of North and Central Alberta is facing unprecedented challenges related to the vast wildfires occurring. Many of your communities have been directly affected with evacuation orders and have been working with other municipalities within your local area to offer support to your residents. Please know that myself and members of Edmonton City Council, as well as all Edmontonians, are thinking of you. He continues on the letter to provide some information about how to contact him and his council, and follows up with, we are all neighbors and all Albertans, and I know that each one of us will be there for one another if times call for it. Our positions as municipal and community leaders can be difficult and stressful, so please take the time to take care of yourself as well. And that was signed Aramatjeet Sohi. And we have no delegation business tonight, as there were no delegations. Apparently we should receive that letter for information. So I will ask Councillor Plott, because he's first in the queue, to do that.
Thanks, Deputy Blackmore. I'd be happy to make a motion that we receive this for information. It's nice to see other colleagues and other communities reaching out and having some empathy with it. Not surprising, but nice to see the letter. So happy to receive for information.
Thank you for that motion. Mayor Clayton, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I had my hand up as I wanted to introduce the letter myself, as it was sent to mayors across the province, but that's fine. Thank you for doing that. I just wanted to acknowledge that Mayor Sohi really took a proactive step in reaching out to the mayors that have been impacted by fire, and it was a really a genuine offer from him to ask for help. So I just wanted to recognize and thank him for that, and happy to support the motion. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I will call a question then. That motion does carry. We did have no delegations today, and we have no unfinished business, so we will reconvene at 6 p.m. for the public hearings portion of the meeting tonight. And until then, we are adjourned. Thank you. And welcome back to the June 12th council meeting. We are here for our evening session. We have no delegations this evening, and we do have a number of public hearings. So we will start with 16.1, which is a road closure bylaw 61464, and I will ask Chief Harrop to introduce this. Sorry, I have to call us to order because apparently we are out of order.
Yes, we have our trustee planning and development team here to kick off 3 of these tonight. So good luck, guys.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Bylaw C1464, road closure bylaw. Administration has initiated a road closure process to Administration has initiated a road closure process to close a decommissioned service road allowance along the 100 Avenue and 108th Street. The road closure area highlighted in red here is part of Plan 3823NY, and the road closure will allow for alternative developments on the land. As part of a land swap agreement between the city and the Prairie Trucking Limited, the road closure area will be consolidated to the adjacent property when closed. So the closure area will be used for alternative development. The one to the north here will have an installation of a bulb or turnaround, which has already been installed, and the one to the south will be is installed with a public road path. The road path will enhance pedestrian connectivity. So the public hearing for this road closure bylaw was advertised per the MGA requirements, and administration did not receive any notice of concern from anyone. In view of this, the administration recommends that council gives 3 readings for bylaw C1464, being a road closure bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. And does anyone have any questions for Mr. Babalola? Seeing no questions for administration, are you ready to do business? Because I think we have some process to go through first.
Yeah, I had a question for administration.
Okay. Could you go ahead, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Babalola. Sorry for the mass, the ash in the area is affecting me greatly. So my question is, I don't see an overall plan that shows the path that you're connecting to. So I'm just wondering, is that going to be made clear or?
Through Councillor Blackmore. So I will go back to that slide. This is where we have the road, the footpath installed, and it's not necessarily connecting to anywhere here, but if a pedestrian is coming from this side, there will be like a footpath to go on. So, right.
Okay, because there is supposed to be a footpath right by the Staples coming through, but I'm not sure if there's any connections. So it's just a footpath there that makes sense to me. So.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor O'Connor, Staples is across the street from there. Okay. Maybe it would be more clear, Mr. Babalola, if you told us, are we closing the part of the old service road that runs along 100th Avenue or along 108th Street?
Thank you. I will go again to this slide. So this one here is the one along the 100 Avenue. This is the one that we have the turnaround installed. The service road here has been recommissioned, and it's what we are closing today. And this other one here is the one along 108th Street, also decommissioned and is going to be closed. So it is the service road, part of the service road, not the main.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions? I see Councillor O'Toole in the queue.
Just to confirm, the installation of the bulb, that's by Prairie Truck and Trailer?
That's correct.
And the other one is in front of Northern Metallic.
That's very correct. Thank you.
That was your question? Okay.
I just want clarification. So
Okay.
sometimes addresses don't make a lot of sense, but business names do.
This is true. So I don't see anyone else in the queue. I see no further questions. So I'll thank administration and move on to submissions from the public. So I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in favor of this bylaw change. I'll ask again if there's anyone here in chambers or online who will speak in favor of this bylaw amendment. And I'll ask for a third time if there's anyone here to speak in favor of this public hearing. Seeing no one come forward, I will now ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition of this public hearing. I'll ask for a second time if there's anyone here online or in the chambers to speak in opposition of the public hearing. And I'll ask a third time if there's anyone here to speak in opposition of the public hearing. Seeing no one come forward in chambers or online, I will close the public hearing and we'll move to business arising. And I would ask Councillor O'Toole to handle business arising.
Thank you very much. I have some predetermined statements, and I move that Council gives first reading to Bylaw C-1464, being a road closure bylaw.
There's no discussion or debate on first reading, so I will call a question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that carries. Carry on, Councillor O'Toole.
Didn't mean to say predetermined. They were recommendations from administration. I move the Council give second reading to Bylaw C-1464.
And then I will ask if there's any questions or comments from Council. I see no one showing up in the queue, so I will call a question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And that carries. Councillor O'Toole, if you could continue.
I move the Council have third reading for Bylaw C-1464 at this meeting.
And to have third reading, this has to pass unanimously, so I will call a question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
That does carry, so Councillor O'Toole, if you could finish this off for us, please.
I will. I move the Council give third reading to Bylaw C-1464.
Call a question. And that passes. So I will call to order 16.2 public hearing for Easthaven outline plan bylaw, which doesn't show up on my thing, and ask Chief Harrop to introduce this topic.
Yes, today we are introducing a name change to two properties, dealing mostly from a marketing perspective. So our team here is here to walk us through that.
Thank you, Chief Harrop. Mr. Babalola.
Thank you, Councillor Blackmore. Bylaw C-1465, Easthaven outline plan. So administration received an application to amend the Kingsgate Landing outline plan. This amendment would change the name of the outline plan to Easthaven outline plan. Bylaw C-1465 will repeal and replace Bylaw C-1410. The Kingsley Landing outline plans plan for the single-family residential development in the city's northeast center The planned area is directly south of 132 Avenue and east of 88th Street. Crystal Lakes Estate is located to the west of the plan, and the Copperwood neighborhood is to the south of it. And to the north and the east side of the plan, the properties there, are vacant parcels of land that are planned for future industrial and residential development. So this proposal would change the name of the outline plan to Easthaven Outline Plan to facilitate the sales and marketing of the neighborhood. The amendment and the repeal and the replace of the bylaw will have no effect on the intent of the plan. It will not change any intent of the outline plan.
Thank you. And do we have any questions for administration? Are you still going?
Yeah, I was just going to recommend that that council gives 3 readings to this bylaw, and also mention that we did the public hearing according to the requirements of the MGA and the LGB, and we didn't have any concerns. Thank you.
Thanks. I see Councillor Bressie has turned his cue on.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I'm just curious, when the name of a neighborhood changes, what approach do we take to updating the name in city documents and city resources? Is this something that's expensive for the city? Do we proactively change it everywhere? Do we just revise things as they come up?
Through the chair. So we will change this in everywhere where we have it. This where the Kingsgate Landing outline plan appears. We will just change this because this bylaw is replacing the old bylaw. So that's just the process. Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess I'm curious. So one example is in our transit rider guide right now. We've got Kingsgate identified in that. Will we go out and change our transit rider guide and recycle all the rider guides we've already printed and print new ones to redo it? Or will we just wait until things kind of run out and just kind of update it as we run out of things?
Through Councillor Blackmore. To be honest, I'm not sure about the answer about already published materials. However, the name change will ripple into the GP map database and then filter through. So in time it will transition, but I'm not sure about how immediately it would, in the context of, say, the public transit map or something.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any other questions? I don't see anyone in the queue. So I will ask if there's anyone in council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of this bylaw change. I'll ask a second time if there's anyone in council chambers or online who wishes to speak in favor of this public hearing. And for a third time, I'll ask if there's anyone in chambers or online who wishes to speak in favor of the public hearing. Seeing no one come forward, I will now ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition of this public hearing. For a second time, I'll ask if anyone is here to speak in opposition of this public hearing, either in chambers or online. And for a third time, I would ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition of this bylaw change. Seeing none, I will close this public hearing and we can move on to business. I see Councillor Berg in the queue, so go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I would like to move the council give first reading to Bylaw C-1465, being the Easthaven Outline Plan.
That is in order, and there's no debate or discussion on first reading, so I'll call a question. That carries. And Grant, if you could continue.
Yes, I would like to move council give second reading to Bylaw C-1465.
I see no one in the queue. If there's no one with questions or comments, I will call a question. That carries as well. Could you please continue, Councillor Berg?
Yes, I would like to move the council have third reading of Bylaw C-1465 at this meeting.
If third reading does not pass unanimously, of course, we'll not be able to have third reading, but I'll call a question. That motion is successful, so Councillor Berg, if you could finish this off for us, please.
Yes, I would like to move council give third reading to Bylaw C-1465, being the Easthaven Outline Plan.
That motion is in order. I'll call a question. And that carries. Moving on to the next agenda item, I will call to order the public hearing for the Urban Rail Business Park and ask Administration Chief Harrop to introduce this.
Yes, this next one will be very similar to the last one, where it's a name change for marketing purposes. We should note to Councillor Bressy's point before that these would change in electronic mechanisms, but as far as my understanding, but Chief McEachran, please chime in if you disagree, these would not change current assets. It would flow through and evolve with updates, but we would not be pulling materials in and then pushing them out, unless you disagree. So I'll pass it along to the team.
And Mr. Babalola.
Thank you, Councillor Blackmore. Administration received an application to amend the Railside Business Park Outline Plan. The amendment will change the name of the Outline Plan to Urban Rail Business Park Outline Plan and repeal Bylaw C-1369. Bylaw C-1466 will replace Bylaw 1369. So the Railside Business Park Outline is an outline that plans for the industrial development on the city's southwest side. The area of application is south of the Central West Business Park and west of the Richmond Industrial Area. This proposal will change only the name of the outline plan to the Urban Rail Business Park Outline Plan, and it is to facilitate the sales and marketing of the business park. As I mentioned earlier, Bylaw C-1466 will repeal and replace Bylaw 1369, but will not change the intent of the outline plan. We did the public hearing notice according to the MG and the LUB requirements, and administration did not receive any opposing comments or concerns. In view of this, administration recommends that council give 3 readings to Bylaw C-1466, being an outline plan for Urban Rail Business Park. Thank you.
I would ask if there's any questions or concerns with Council for Administration, and I see no one putting their name into the queue. So I will ask if there's anyone here in Council Chambers who wishes to speak in favor of this change of name. I'd ask a second time if anyone is in Council Chambers or online who wishes to speak in favor of this public hearing. I'd ask a third time if there's anyone in Chambers or Council Chambers who wishes to speak in favor of this public hearing. Seeing no one come forward, I would now ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of the public hearing. I'd ask a second time if there's anyone online or in Council Chambers who wishes to speak in opposition of this public hearing. And for the third time, I'll ask if there's anyone in Chambers who wishes to speak in opposition of this public hearing. Seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing and I will turn to Council for business arising. I would turn to Councillor Thiessen to look after this business.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I would move that Council give first reading to Bylaw C-1466, being the Urban Rail Business Park Outline Plan.
There's no discussion or debate on first reading, so I'll call a question. And that carries. Please continue.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I'd move that Council give second reading to Bylaw C-1466, being the Urban Rail Business Park Outline Plan.
I see no one wishing to debate this, so I'll call the question. And that carries. Please continue, Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. I'd move that council have third reading at this meeting.
I'll call that question. And if you could finish it up. This is, oh, it hasn't come up yet. There we go. Go ahead now.
Just getting a little worried there for a second. I would move that council give third reading to Bylaw C-1466, being the Urban Rail Business Park Outline Plan.
And I'll call that question. And that carries. That concludes our public hearings for this evening. Left on our agenda is simply council member reports. And I'm going to start with Mayor Clayton because she always is the one who ends. So tonight I'll let her start.
Give me 1 second here. Okay. Going to read my notes. Give me 1 second here. I had the pleasure on May 30th to read the proclamation of Stampede, and by all accounts, I understand it was an incredible year for Stampede. The weather participated. There was great crowds starting on Wednesday, every day up until Sunday. So a big thanks to that regional volunteer-based organization who continues to put on an excellent regional event. I also had the opportunity of attending a Grande Prairie IDP Joint Steering Committee meeting, which I think was an excellent conversation between ourselves and the county, and it was a good start to the work that lies ahead on that front. I also, to remind council, sit on a committee of 34 communities representing all size communities across Alberta, the Community Rail Advocacy Alliance. We're gearing up. We have a couple of meetings this week with senators, and so continue to share the information of rail car disparity, rail service disparity across Alberta, and the significant impacts that has on industry. I also attended the sat on the dignitary wagon on the Thursday night to kick off Stampede. So that was excellent. I had the pleasure of golfing in the Northwestern Polytechnic Classic with Chief Harrop, Councillor Watt, and a community business leader. That was a great opportunity, and I understand that the fundraiser was a great success. I also did a proclamation for Seniors Week, which was, of course, a full-on week event. Did that proclamation with my colleague, Reeve Marshall, at the Bonnets Energy Centre, where many councillors attended a barbecue. There had to be a few hundred seniors there for the barbecue. So thank you to the organizers for that event. It continues to every year grow, it appears. More people are coming out, and it's a great kickoff to the week-long of events that happen in our community to celebrate seniors in our community and the different facets that seniors reach on a day-to-day basis, whether it's volunteering or mentoring, and just really the uniqueness of our seniors community. I had the pleasure of having breakfast with a U of A medical student who is an ambassador for the University of Alberta medical doctors. She was in town to speak with high schools in the region to talk about what it's entailed to get into the medical field, and had a really good conversation with her to talk about opportunities where our region could be more prevalent in conversations, but also impact people making decisions of where they'd like to take the residency. So that was a great conversation, a great opportunity to meet her. I attended with great pleasure, and many of my colleagues, the grand opening of the Blossoming Garden of Hope and the Compassionate Friends of Grande Prairie chapter. with the Tiny Hands of Hope. So two fundamental organizations that were significant in bringing this garden to bloom. And it really was a great community event. And the more you talk to people about this amenity in our community, the more you realize how many people it truly impacts. I was standing beside an individual I know who wasn't aware had been impacted by the loss of a child, and this garden really just says it touches more and more people on a regular basis. So it's really something that I wanted to send a big thanks out to the organizations and the business community leaders that really made this come to life, but also to remind council that it's really something we should be proud of. And it just goes to show that what one conversation can lead to with some hard work and pushing. So it was great to see. So congratulations to everyone involved. And just quickly, I know many departments from the city of Grande Prairie were involved with this. Obviously, our Parks Department, but our Marketing Department, our Finance Department, our Comms Department. So thank you to everyone who helped make this success, this amenity a success. It really is something we should be proud of. I also had the pleasure of golfing in the Sunrise House, Odyssey House golf tournament. I know some of my colleagues were there as well. It again continues to be a significant fundraiser for those communities, and they're meeting some of their operational needs. So congratulations to all the volunteers and all the sponsors for having another exceptional event. I'm currently attending the International Economic Development Conference, as well as the Global Energy Forum and Exhibition. So I will see you all again soon. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'm now going to ask Councillor Berg to give his roundtable.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Blackmore. Covered off a few things similar to Mayor Clayton. I popped by the Pride Week Rainbow Sidewalk painting. Also stopped in for Seniors Week at Bonnett's, and it was great to see a wonderful turnout there. IDP Joint Steering Committee was another thing that we all attended. But echoing what Mayor Clayton said, Blossoming Garden of Hope, it is so inspirational going there. What engaged citizens put their mind to something, they can create something absolutely amazing for our community, a wonderful legacy piece. Thank you to the families and the sponsors of that park. It's a wonderful addition to our city. So thank you. Today is my 30th wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary to my wife, Rhonda. I will finally get to see her tonight. It's been a long day. So that's my report.
Well, thank you, Councillor Berg. And I see Mayor Clayton put her hand up, so maybe she is not quite yet done.
I'm not, and I just wanted to. I'll share a little trick. I usually make my notes as you guys are doing all your roundtables. So I apologize that I really forgot a significant event in our community, and Councillor Berg triggered me to recall. I had the true pleasure of bringing greetings and reading a proclamation at the White Party this weekend. I can tell you that they had a sold-out event. There was 100 more people that attended it this year than last year. So, and I understand the teen dance was also a great success. So thank you to all the fundraisers, all the organizers, the donors, the people that helped raise funds and supported the event. It was a great event, and really something that the people that participated and the people that attended should be proud to be part of. So thanks.
Okay, so we're going to go to Councillor Bosch next, but if you have more, Mayor Clayton, we'll come back to you after that.
Feel free. For me, I would first like to wish a happy Seniors Week. It was nice to celebrate our seniors in the community. And next year we get to even do more with them with the seniors tea shared with the county and the city. The Stompede was already mentioned. We as council also went to a appreciation dinner for past MLA Tracy Allard and Travis Taves to give our thank yous of their years of service for our community. So that was really nice. June 3rd, I had an opportunity, first time, to go to Chautauqua Days in Sexsmith on behalf of the city. They were very kind and let me ride on their parade float, and as well as someone from Wembley joined them too. So that was a fun day. They do a really good job there, really good job. And coming back to the city that day, stopped in at Muskogee Park for the Here Comes Summer event. Accolades to all the city staff on putting that event on. It was fantastic. There was skateboarding, of course, hot dogs and juice, games, swimming, live entertainment. Beautiful day for families to get out there. On the 5th, the Pride sidewalk painting. I attended that with a few of our councillors, and then again last Saturday, the Party in White held at the Bonnet Center. That was my first time going to the Party in White. It was awesome. It was really good, really nice evening. On June 10th, the 2nd annual Filipino Cultural Festival. That was really nice. It was held in the park. Beautiful day again, singing, dancing. Aside of that, today we did the flag raising for the Philippine Independence Day. So congratulations to the Philippine community. I attended an open house with Councillor O'Connor for an area of the city who has some concerns about some development permits. So happy to hear from the public and their opinions on, things that may happen in their near future. Next to the Blossoming Garden of Hope. I think almost everybody here went to that, so that was awesome. And previously, I think I was on a flight back from Calgary last council meeting, but I was at 2 different conferences. One was technology-based, and the other one was FCM, so Federation for Cities and Municipalities, and both great conferences.
Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Acting Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
She's not acting. She actually is the deputy mayor.
Well,
No, I'm pretending entirely.
Okay.
thank you. I knew she'd jump in. Anyway, attended an Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting, the IDP joint steering committee between the county and the city council, and then attended the Here Comes Summer event. And we kicked off that event by opening up free swimming at the Aquaterra outdoor pool, and splash park, and there was all kinds of activities. We served 4,100 hot dogs, so it was amazing. We attended Seniors Week barbecue, and then people said thanks. They were very grateful of that. Anyway, Seniors Week barbecue at Bonnett's, and attended 3 different sessions of a mock council with 2 with St. Gerard's grade 6 kids, and with Councillor Thiessen and with Councillor Bressy. And then Councillor Thiessen invited me to come along with him to Isabel Campbell, where we met with 75 kids. And that was tremendous. And attended the grand opening of the Blossoming Garden of Hope, and then brought greetings this morning at the Filipino flag raising on behalf of Mayor Clayton. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much. On the 30th, I went to the Stampede bust out and visited with some cowboys that won awards and friends of mine for the last few years. Also, I went on the 31st to the Composite High School. They wanted to be part of the Stampede this year, and they had a pancake breakfast to their students. It opened up at 7 o'clock. There was no students until 7:45. Class started at 8 o'clock, and there was probably 200 kids waiting in lines, so they had an excuse to be late for class. So just throwing that out there. I did the Grande Prairie IDP Joint Steering Committee, and I went to out of town to the Alberta Association of Police Governance Conference. Very well attended conference. I had some colleagues and members of the commission join me as well.
Seniors Week, I didn't get to be out there with the crowd, but I was barbecuing like a storm. And I don't know how many actual burgers we cooked or hot dogs, but I can tell you that it was around 500 people that attended, far more than we had last year. And we did run out of food. I did the Grande Prairie Municipal Police. I was involved in some committee stuff during the week, looking for a new chief and other items like that. Went to Veterans Memorial Gardens. We had an AGM, and what else did we do? I did the Blossoming Gardens. Once again, I was cooking in the background, and it was amazing how many people attended that. We had a whole bunch of cakes, and they were more interested in the burgers and the hot dogs and the cakes. But thank you to Mr. Chris Thiessen for stepping up and cutting real big pieces for the kids. So that was good. And I did go to the Odyssey House and Sunrise House sponsor appreciation night out at the Grande Prairie Golf and Country Club. And they had some fundraising going on. There wasn't very many people there, but they made more money with that group of people than they anticipated, so that's a good thing. And I also golfed in the tournament, like Mayor Clayton said, and I was joined with our Deputy Mayor, Gladys Blackmore. She's a good golfer. I want to just brag a little bit about the 2850 Loyal Edmonton Regiment. They had their awards night and their final meeting of the day on the weekend. And I just want to share some of the people that got awards. Best attendance was Konstantinas Gizmondi and Lance Corporal Emily Pompulewski. We're going to butcher that one, so just remember it doesn't sound like that when she says it. The Alwood Roney Memorial Award, Lance Corporal Caden Rigler. Most Improved Red Star, Corporal Willow Stanky. Most Improved Silver Star, Corporal Sophia Adidnot. And Most Improved Gold Star was Sergeant Arthur Pearson. CO's Award of Excellence was Warrant Officer Jake Napier. Frank Kozar Range Proficiency was Top Senior Shot, Corporal Chloe Watson. Top Junior Range, Lance Corporal Caden Rigler. Top Fitness Female was Corporal Sophia Hadonit and Corporal Kaylee Kadak. Top Fitness Male was Sergeant Isaac Adinjuju. And Outstanding Dress, Drill, and Deportment was Sergeant Amy May. And Master Cadet Proficiency Award was Warrant Officer James Fillier. And the major awards of the night that everybody's wondering about was the Royal Canadian Legion Cadet Medal of Excellence. It was given to Sergeant Amy May. The Esprit de Corps Award, which is, like I said, these are very, very nice awards to be mentioned even. This year's the recipient was Warrant Officer Jake Napier, and the Strathcona Medal is this year's recipient was Carmina Grismodi. And just to tell you a little bit about her, this is her final year in the Army Cadets, and she's off to Montreal to learn about nursing, and then she's going to transfer program where she'll be going to McGill. And I just wanted to let you know that the Army Cadets and the Air Cadets have had this thing where one thought they were better all the time. But this year they actually did their drill together. They had, I think, 40 minutes to work together, and they pulled it off, and it looked like they've been practicing for years. So that was great. And once again, did the party in white and the second annual Filipino Cultural Festival on the weekend. Ate a lot of ice cream, drank a lot of pop, visited with my family, and enjoyed the music and the dancing. So Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Toole, for those butchered names. Councillor Bressie.
Great. Well, thank you, actual Deputy Mayor Blackmore. And Councillor O'Toole, now that you've seen them together, I'm curious what's better, Army or Air Cadets? Oh, he gave an answer, but I don't think the microphone picked it up. I got to attend a number of the events, so I won't go over all of the ones that I was at that have already been mentioned, but I really appreciated attending the association, the Alberta Association of Police Governance, with not just Councillor O'Toole, but also Commissioner Tim Burnham, Commission Chair Dan Wong, and our Executive Director Laurie Settler. I know the commissions had some specific questions that we went to the conference with, and it was great to get to hear from colleagues who have been doing this a lot longer than about 3 weeks about how they're running things in their community. It was also really good. We got to do a presentation on why we decided to make this transition and how we're making this transition. And that's a room full of some of the civilians of the province who know the most about policing. And a lot of them they're on policing committees that have RCMP detachments they love dearly. Many of them are also retired RCMP themselves. And so it was a bit of a skeptical, and I'd even say a little bit of a hostile room a little bit when we started our presentation. But by the end, we had a number of people coming up and saying, holy smokes, we can't believe how much work you folks put into this and how good a decision that was for your community. So that was really affirming to hear, and it was great to get advice on how to make sure the next steps go. I also had a great weekend. I got to attend the Filipino Festival. It was great to see some music. It was great to eat some food I don't usually get to eat, or I never get to eat, so that was fun. And there was a lot of pride this weekend. I appreciated going to the sidewalk painting. There's more and more people there every year. I did notice that somebody did a burnout on the crosswalk the very next day, and I think that was their way of telling us you shouldn't do the sidewalk, but I take that as that's exactly why we do that sidewalk. So thank you to whoever that person was for such a visible demonstration of why we do Pride. But the highlight of the weekend for me was a big congratulations to St. Paul's United Church, which is going down their journey of being public, inclusive, and explicit, and have formally joined the network of affirming United Churches to show that people of any gender, any sexuality are welcome in their congregation. I know directly I've got to be at the hospital late at night with kids who were chased out of their faith communities. And so it was very meaningful for me to get to go visit a congregation that was making it very clear that those kids have a faith community they're welcome in. And so that was definitely the highlight of my weekend.
Thank you, Councillor Bressie. Councillor Thiessen.
Oh, I see what you're doing here. You're going back and forth, and then you hit your chair, and you bounce back, and here I am. I'm in the queue. I like it. No, I had a really, really busy 2 weeks. Thank you very much, Deputy Worship Blackmore. I attended Stampede for the Thursday and Friday of the nights, took in the chuck wagons late Thursday night, and took in most of the night on Friday, as well as some of the afternoon. One of the big highlights for me over the weekend was especially going to St. Paul's United Church. Councillor Bressie was there. So too was former councillor Eunice Friesen was there. And I'm sure there was lots of people in the Pride community that were there to see it as well. I know that Reverend Gord Waldy, this is a 30-year dream of his to bring this to the church, as well as Susan K. Thompson, a George Repka winner. She actually left the church to join this church because it meant so much to her that people could be accepted and included into worshiping God in the spaces where it's not considered sinful. So really big congratulations to both Gord and to Susan K. for bringing that to our community and to our faith community as well. One of the things that I would really love to highlight, because this week was loaded with me for seniors and youth events. It was like we're getting the oldest and the youngest like throughout the week, and I was zipping and zagging between those all. But I got to attend the 3D Children's Hockey Charity presentation and games. I got to see the games after some of them at the end of the day. Lucky for me, I didn't know they was going till 5. I was just driving by. I'm like, is there stuff still going on? So I got to take in the final games. But the presentation I got was really touching because it was on June 1st, and Councillor O'Toole, myself, and the mayor had received a request to go there. I was the only one, I think, that was able to go. But when I got there, one of my son's classmates, Regan, who's been in a wheelchair her whole entire life, was receiving a presentation from 3D Children's Charity, as well as Jake, another person, young person with developmental disabilities, nonverbal, doesn't walk either. We received some pretty generous gifts compared to what the 3D Children's Charity does. Now, they didn't advertise this, but when you're getting around in a wheelchair, sometimes life is hard, getting you in the wheelchair, out of the wheelchair, just getting into the car. Well, 3D Children's Charity teamed up with Kev's Kids, and they were able collectively to purchase a wheelchair lift for the 15-seater van that Regan's parents bought to transport her around in. So a very significant gift. Now she can just wheel up, it comes down automatically, raises her up, puts her in, folds away real nicely so that you can sit 14 other people in there beside the wheelchair. And for Jake, because he doesn't walk and he hardly talks, but he likes to be outside and stuff, they teamed up to buy his family an electric bike with a special modification on the back where he can have a seat in the back with a big backboard because he can't hold his neck up properly. So it stabilizes him. And then him and his family get to go ripping on an e-bike up to 30 kilometers an hour up and down the street. And apparently he just loves it and he squeals the whole way there. It was really touching to see. Normally 3D Children's Charity, they help people with the costs of getting to and from the hospital in Edmonton or Calgary or wherever they need to go, iPads and other stuff. This is one of those extra special things where they don't want to set expectations, but they saw the need was high and they saw an opportunity to do something really good with another awesome charity called Kev's Kids. So I was really happy to be a part of that. Seniors Week, I was able to take in the info fair and kickoff barbecue as well at the beginning of it, as well as the snack and chats in between, and then the seniors tea at the very end on Saturday at the Veterans Memorial Gardens. That was quite nice, and some great conversations with their pioneers who built this community for us. So that was really awesome. And of course the kids. And the last thing I'll mention is something that's already been mentioned ad nauseum, but it is a wonderful thing for our community, and that's the Blossoming Garden of Hope. Thanks for the shout out there, Kevin. I know that you've pointed out the guy in the pink jacket and said, come get him to cut some cake, but I wasn't alone. Deputy Mayor Gladys Blackmore was there with me helping to serve cake, and I might have forced her out of there because I just occupy a lot of space, but she did the first cake, I did the rest of the cakes after that. So that was really, really good. And I also want to throw out a shout out to Councillor Grant Berg, because when you go down to the Blossoming Garden of Hope, it's a very beautiful space, and it's just in its infancy. I can only imagine it 5 years from now when you're walking down the path to Musgrove and the blossoming trees have grown to their 8 feet height and they create that pink canopy that you can walk under. Be such a beautiful entrance to it. And then when you get to this park, not only are there lots of beautiful blossoming trees, but there's all these wonderful statues and benches to sit on with wonderful phrases stitched into them. And Councillor Gramberg, I know he's not going to toot his own horn, but I'll toot it for him. He provided a really beautiful piece of the Palladian star system, not just for the garden, but to honor First Nations people, as well as to honor their children and the place to go home. So I think that type of recognition should not go unnoticed. So thank you for your contributions to that grant. I know it was a labor of love for you. And for our whole community, a big thank you to Karen, Tia, Elizabeth, and all the people from Tiny Hands of Hope who made this possible for us and literally developed a park for us at, I don't know, about 100th of the cost of what we could have. So this is going to be a beautiful space for all to enjoy for many, many years to come. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chair Blackmore. I'd said to Councillor Bress earlier, this might have been one of the quietest councilling meetings we had till we got to round table. So this is a busy 2 weeks. So I think I basically was at all the events where I had the Stampede bust out and attended Stampede Saturday night. Another great event. And just have to give my hats off to all the volunteers that go into that. Just driving out there, watching the park attendants, watching all the people in the grandstands. Hundreds of people volunteering at a time out there. So well done to the Stampede yet again for another great event. I mentioned earlier, but Councillor O'Connor and I had an opportunity to work with our Economic Development Advisory Committee. It was our first advisory committee, I think in the last about 5 or 6 months. But really want to thank that committee for the level of engagement and just the conversation that was had around that table. Just really appreciate the openness and thanks to Chief Harrop and his team for putting that together. And just, I really always like when you get that opportunity to have that dialogue with communities, leaders, whatever format it is, but this one was an economic format. The council meeting with the supper with the MLAs was great. The NWP golf tournament was great. ICC with the county had a library planning committee meeting, which I thought was a really well done one. Seniors Week events were great, and today the Filipino flag raising. So a lot of the same events council was at. It sounds like it was a busy 2 weeks. That's why our roundtable is a little bit longer today, but it was a great 2 weeks. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Palat. I will probably be just as long as everyone else. I started out after the last council meeting. I attended a downtown association meeting on behalf of council. I also attended the IDP joint steering committee, or joint, wasn't really a steering committee because we were looking at various varieties of things. I was also able to attend my grandson's grad in Spirit River at the Spirit River Regional Academy. You know, when Grande Prairie, we go to grad celebrations and there's hundreds of kids, and you go to Spirit River and there's 36. So it's quite personal, and they all for the most part went to school with each other from kindergarten on, and so they're a great group of kids who know each other really well. I was able to join Councillor O'Connor to serve 4,100 plus hot dogs at Here Comes Summer. If you want ketchup, mustard, or relish on your hot dog, I tell you, Councillor O'Connor's your guy, because he's like a wild man. You end up with way more than you ever thought you deserved. I also attended the Blossoming Garden of Hope. I was the person who was in charge, so to speak, of the geese sculpture. I didn't have a hard time convincing kids to sit on the geese sculptures, but I had a hard time convincing their parents that it was encouraged for them to sit on the sculptures. So that was interesting, and of course the garden is beautiful, and the cause, or the memories that are being celebrated at the garden are beautiful and sad all at the same time. I did golf, as already mentioned, in the Sunrise House and Odyssey House golf tournament. I was really pleased to win a tea kettle, because my tea kettle has been leaking for 3 months, and I've refused to go replace it because it doesn't really seem like we use it that often. But anyway, now I have a brand new one. So the old one is out in the garbage, ready for the truck tomorrow morning. And this morning, on behalf of the mayor, I brought greetings to ONE, which is our acronym for onboarding new employees. And we brought on board this morning a number of very young employees who will be running our summer camp program. So that was really a great event as well. And I'm going to conclude with, I got a notice today on behalf of the Peace Health Advisory Council that I sit on, of the doctors that we have had come to Grande Prairie in the first 6 months. So I would welcome to Grande Prairie an anesthesiologist, Elizna Duplessis, who came in April. We have a new oncologist, Rodrigo Rigo, and a radiation oncologist as well, Albert Verbeek. OBGYN is Dr. Arafella Gimo. In pathology, we welcome Dr. Kareem Katani. In pediatrics, we welcome Dr. Priscilla Afari. In radiology, we welcome Dr. Jonathan Grinspan. And in surgery, we welcome Dr. Kevin Whitlock. So I think that that's a great boost to the medical services people in the city of Grande Prairie, and I am so pleased to be able to welcome them to our community, as I know all of you are just as eager to welcome them. So I see no other business tonight. I will say that Roundtable took over 30 minutes, so that's really an indication that this council's pretty busy. And so on that note, I will adjourn and see you all again in a couple weeks. Good night.